She's a first team coach at Birmingham City Ladies of the Women's Super League and title-winning Nottingham Trent University women's side. She spent 3 highly successful years at the GoPro Sports Dubai Academy and has spent time coaching in the USA too. Today, I am joined by Jen Foster. Okay, Jen, firstly, let's talk about women's football. Now, the Women's Super League is becoming more popular, and back in 2019, the Women's World Cup saw record-breaking viewing figures of over 1.12 billion. But for you, how do you think women's football is progressing, and what more do you think can be done?
I think compared to back when I was playing, a lot of teams weren't funded by the men's club. They would have to go out and get sponsorship themselves. So I think definitely in the last 10 years, with the backing of men's clubs, it has really improved. But I think, especially in the Super League at the moment, there's a big divide between the top teams, your Chelseas, your Man Cities, and then clubs like us, Birmingham and Bristol. Whether that's to do with the fact our men's clubs are in the Championship rather than the Premier League. But I think in terms of getting viewers, we've got a Sky deal next season, which is massive. I think that's going to really help. So it's just getting female football out there, and the World Cup, that was a great platform for women's football. Like you said, I think viewing has really, really increased. It's been a shame that the pandemic's happened, because it would have been nice to have seen how many fans we would have got at games. But yeah, I think just really pushing women's football, getting it out there with the viewing, on the TV, the Sky deals. And I think now you're starting to see a lot of male footballers advocating for women's football. I think that stereotype of women can't really play is now changing. And it's nice to see, fathers with their young daughters who play, they're now changing their views because they've now got a daughter that wants to play football. Whereas before, when they didn't have the daughter, it was, women can't play. So it's really nice to see that we're starting to change stereotypes and people's opinions on women's football.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the Sky deal is a massive thing as well, and rightly so too. So let's talk about you, of course. You are a first team coach for Birmingham City Ladies. You are a footballer as well. So what's it like watching the games as a coach now?
I think at first it was very difficult. Because I've been a player for several years, and the whole camaraderie around going to games and training, and you're keeping yourself fit, and it was quite a transition. I remember when I first started coaching, and I used to think, I want to join in the session, but obviously you have to be professional in that sense. We still every now and again join in if numbers are low, but yeah, I think now I've kind of got to the point where I've found something that I really enjoy. Obviously, I love playing, but the coaching side of things, I find that I learn a lot more. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. But, yeah, it was definitely very difficult at the start. You just want to be a part of everything. Even on the sideline, I found that when I was managing on the sideline, you try to talk through the game, and it feels like you're commentating on it. But, you think just be quiet, the players know what they're doing. But no, I love it. I love it now. I feel like I've kind of transitioned away from that. So yeah, no, I'm happy with the coaching. Still miss it a little bit, but no, happy.
I was going to say, do you miss it at all?
Say that again, sorry?
I was going to say, do you miss the playing side of it at all?
I do, when I think more in the big games, when there's cup games and derby games. They were the big ones that I used to love as a player. Because there was always more meaning to it. If you're fighting for, the top league position, or you're in the semi-final or final of a cup, there's always something to play for. So for me, they were the exciting games. But I find that now when I'm managing or coaching those big games, you relate it to when you were a player, but the information that you can now give as a coach through the experiences you've had, I find that really interesting for me, and how I deal with that, and how I can benefit and help those players based on the experiences I've had. So that's quite nice to see.
Oh yeah, definitely beneficial for the team, for sure. So let's talk about you as a coach at Birmingham. What are your aspirations for the team, and do you set yourself targets at the beginning of each season?
So in terms of at Birmingham this year, I mean, when we first started the season, we'd kind of had to cobble a team together just because we had so many players leave in the summer. So to be honest, we kind of set our target to just stay in the league. That was our target and still is. So I think, we got a couple of good results quite early on, and then we've struggled a little bit in recent months just with results. So I think this next 2 weeks is massive for us. But that aspiration's still there. We need to stay in that league, because there's always that fear of, if we were to get relegated, are the men still going to back us? And I think that's now our drive for these next couple of weeks, to get those results to ensure that we stay in the league, and continue that funding. Yeah.
I don't know if this is a fair question to ask you now, but do you think you're going to stay up?
I think we've got good enough players, and I think we've got the drive to do that. Yeah, I do. I think one thing I can't fault our group of players on is their endeavour and their hard work. Every game they're going to give everything. Football sometimes is about luck. Sometimes you don't get the decisions, etc. So, but those are things that you can't control. I think for us, as long as we go into every game confident, which I know the girls will be today, and hopefully, depending on the results today, it might take a little bit of pressure off Wednesdays, or it might ramp up that pressure. But no, I'm confident that we can get a result. Yeah.
I love all that, by the way, just to hear your passion and the enthusiasm, and, being in these positions where you are going to feel pressure, and how you deal with it, try and get some momentum, get the points on the table, put pressure on other teams. I love all of that. So honestly, best of luck for the rest of the season with the upcoming games. Let's talk about you again, though. Let's bring it back. So when did you first become interested in football, and what are your earliest memories?
So I've got my dad to thank for that, really. So I was about 8 years old, and we used to just go to the local park to play, just have a little kick around. And this guy approached us and said, "Oh, do you play for a team?" And I'd never really thought about it. I was only 8, and he said, "Oh, the local boys team in the village that I live in." He said, "You should come down and train." So I went down. It was on a Thursday evening, and obviously I went up with my dad. And I just remember some of the boys in the team went to the school that I was in, but I hated that first session, purely because when the coach was like, "Right, get into pairs now," me being the only girl, well, none of the boys wanted to partner up with me, so I was just sort of left, and there was one lad left, and it was like, "Okay, you're going to have to go with her," sort of thing. And I remember I walked back home with my dad, and I was like, "I don't want to go again. I don't want to go again." And he was like, "No, come on, we'll go." But the coaches were brilliant. And after that, I think, it's one of those things where once they realise you can play, it's different. But yeah, my first experience wasn't great. But after that, I loved it. And then when I was 10, because of the rules that they had, you had to then play for a girls' team. So I went for trials at Birmingham City, and then was with them till I was about 18, came right up through the academy into the first team. So yeah, my dad, I've got to thank for that. He never missed a game. He's definitely my biggest fan.
So looking at that, obviously you did face some barriers then growing up as a female footballer. What barriers do you think girls and women face nowadays, and what more do you think can be done to limit that?
I think the barriers are loosening, but they're still there. I don't think social media helps. There's always keyboard warriors sat behind there that, want to have their opinion. And what I find fascinating is you've got these female pundits in particular, like Alex Scott. She's a player that I played against, great player, great advocate for women's football, but now she's doing a lot for football, and she's brilliant. But there's, men behind the scenes that, might work as a builder, for instance, and they want to have their say, and you think, but she's an international footballer, ex-professional footballer, and you think your opinion matters more than a female who's played the game at the top level. And I think that's where the problem comes in. But somebody like her, who she knows her stuff, she's played the game at the highest level. When people listen to her, and there's a lot of men that I've spoken to, and they say how brilliant she is, I think she's now starting to break down those barriers, and we just need more women to be able to do that. And it is difficult. Women have to work twice as hard. I mean, she even said that, and other pundits like Jermaine Genius and Alan Shearer have said she does her homework and works so hard, because one slip up and that's it. And we've seen that with other female pundits, one mistake and everybody's onto them, Twitter, everything. And I think that's the problem today, that women just aren't given a fair chance. As a male pundit, if a male pundit slipped up with a mistake, it's just kind of, okay, we'll brush it over, but females are scrutinised. So I just think people need to look at, okay, if you've got a female pundit, actually, well, they've played for England, they've represented, they've done exactly the same as what these male pundits have done. They're just female.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be any different. So for me, I just think people need to recognise that actually they're the same. They've done the same job. They've played to the same level. The only difference is their gender. And I think we need to push for more females. But I do think the females need to make sure they are not slipping up in that sense. Don't give yourself the opportunity to be scrutinised by making those mistakes. Like I said with Alex Scott, she's brilliant, and now she's starting to get the accolades. I mean, she's everywhere, isn't she?
She is.
And you look at that and think, well, she's earned that. She's deserved that. Yes, she's had to work very hard for it, but why can't more females get to that position?
Exactly, and we want to be talking about lots of other Alex Scotts that that have made it, that are workhorses, that are getting the recognition for it as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Hopefully we will be bridging that gap very soon, we hope.
Very soon, yeah.
So back to you again. You have just got onto the UEFA A coaching course. Congratulations, that is a massive achievement.
Thank you.
How does it feel, and what does it involve? Can you tell me a bit about it?
In terms of it was a long time coming. It's something that's been my aspiration for the last couple of years. So yeah, when I got the email a couple of weeks back, I couldn't tell you the relief, because for me, it's now the next step in my career. So the UEFA A is, you've got that, and then the professional pro license, which for females to manage in the WSL1 or internationally, you only need UEFA A. It's only the men's game you tend to need the pro license. So once I get that, it opens up lots of doors for me to manage. So although I'm coaching in the WSL at the moment, if I want to manage, I need that qualification. If I want to manage a national team, I need that qualification. So getting on it is massive for me, and it's exciting. I continuously want to learn and develop as a coach, and being on that course will allow me to do that and challenge me. And then, yeah, I guess the world's my oyster. Fingers crossed, once I qualify for that qualification. So yeah, just really, really happy. I think it was just a long time coming. So yeah, couldn't tell you the relief when I got that email.
Well, congratulations again. Again, massive achievement. So many opportunities can come from that as well. And again, you're passionate about the game, you're a workhorse, and you're reaping the rewards now, and rightly so as well. All that's left to say then, Jen, is good luck for the rest of the season. It's been really nice to chat to you, and I think there are some really important issues that we've covered about women's football, and fingers crossed things will get better for women in football and in sport in general. But thank you for joining me today, and best of luck.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.